Unfortunately, we got a Friday Halo news dump. For the past several weeks, we've been hearing, honestly, some pretty optimistic news about Halo Infinite. We've gotten a technical demo. We all got to play, most of us got to play some Halo multiplayer against some bots. Infinite was just marching along. 343 has done a good job of just releasing a regular cadence of updated information, and that happened again on Friday. But unfortunately, it was more of a Friday night news dump as they were announcing delays to specific aspects of the upcoming title. So I'm going to roll some Halo Infinite footage here while we talk about the news, because I think there's some things we need to just kind of iron out here. So as we know, Halo Infinite is expected to launch this year. Now, they have not officially said when it's going to happen, just sometime holiday of 2021. Hopefully they have an actual date inside the company and they're aligning towards that. But as of today, we still do not know the official date of Halo Infinite. What they announced on Friday is that Halo Infinite will not be launching with co-op. That meaning, couch side co-op. It will not be launching with that. And it will also not be launching with Forge, which is their ability or their tool to create custom game types. Now, this may not sound like a big deal, but I am of the opinion that it honestly is a pretty big deal, because if we rewind the clock, we will all remember that Halo Infinite has already been delayed a year. So it's been delayed a year and they still don't have features that make Halo ready for the launch. Now, they're officially saying that the co-op part of Halo Infinite will launch 3 months later, as long as it keeps to the current timelines, and Forge will not launch until an additional 6 months later. So you've got a 3 and a 6 month delay, depending on which features you are looking for. And I think that's a big deal, because one of the cornerstone features of Halo has been co-op. And I know a lot of people like to play it co-op. That has been just sort of a defining aspect of what makes Halo fun. You and your buddies can play through the campaign at the same time, but Infinite will not be launching with that. Of course, you could just say, all right, we will wait the 3 months, and that is perfectly fine. But then you've got to avoid all the spoilers of the story and everything else going online. And then, honestly, you just got to hope that the 3 month delay is, in fact, just a 3 month delay. That being said, if you want to play single player campaign, perfectly fine. You're not going to have any issues. And I think for a lot of people, that's going to be just fine. But if you're looking forward to co-op, that's not going to be happening. Now, Forge is another interesting thing, because remember, Halo Infinite multiplayer is going to be free to play. And I'm making an assumption here. We don't officially know, but I would assume that Forge would be part of that free to play product, but I guess technically it could not be. But anyways, Forge coming later, I think that might be a little bit less of an issue, mostly because it's going to be new Halo Infinite. You're going to have new gameplay experiences, you're going to have new maps, you're going to have a fun time playing Halo Infinite, and when Forge arrives 6 months later, it might add a little bit of more spice to Halo Infinite. So I don't necessarily think that's as big of a deal. But the thing that's sort of crazy to me at this point is that they were delayed a year, and you can walk back through my channel and there's been a lot of riffraff back and forth about some of the things that I leaked out, but they've been delayed a year. What were they going to be able to launch last year, right? Like, clearly this delay was pretty significant and obviously had to be done if the fact that an additional year of time, they were not able to get all the features that they wanted to be done. Now, yes, there absolutely are significant challenges in remote work. Trying to build a game remotely, trying to triage a game, trying to play test a game remotely. It's very challenging. And I completely understand that the team behind this has been struggling with it, as has many other developers. Game delays across the industry are popping up all over the place. I mean, look at Cyberpunk as an example. It's now $10 at Best Buy because they launched in a really terrible state. And I think we all agree we want Halo Infinite to launch in a good state. And while they are saying they are committed to launching this year, would delaying it be such a bad thing at this point? I mean, clearly, is it worth launching Halo if it's only partially complete? That's not a decision that we get to make. We just get to abide by what 343/Microsoft gets to decide about launching this game. But that is potentially another option, although it does not sound like they are going to be going that route. Now, you got to remember too that because the game was delayed a year already, it's got to come out rock solid. It really, really does. Because hey, that was the pitch, right? They said we need an additional year to polish everything up. We need to make sure everything is good, buttoned up, smooth, so that you get the best Halo experience possible. And well, they're already coming out to a rocky start. You got to remember, it's not launching complete. It's launching without the 2 features that many people might want. So here you go, Halo not even out of the gate, and they're dumping a little bit of news. I should say it's a decent amount of news, only because it opens the door to a lot wider speculation about if anything else is going to be delayed. Now, I don't think anything else is going to be significantly delayed, because you would think that they would just get all the bad news out in front of them at one point. I mean, what's the point in announcing this now and in 3 weeks saying, well, you know what, that feature is also going to be delayed? Like, that would just be detrimental, again, to the launch narrative that has been building for many, many, many years. You got to remember, Halo Infinite has been talked about for a long time. I was actually the person that leaked the name right before they came out with it. Actually, technically, somebody will call me out because I called it Halo Infinity. But this game has been drawing so much hype, and Microsoft cannot have it launch in a poor state, which just kind of makes you wonder, like, are they really challenged right now on getting this thing out the door? Or more specifically, what other features are they rushing to complete? Because with an additional year, again, we were all hoping that things were going to be nice and polished and that there was so much breathing room that it was just going to launch in this epic state. But now we're starting to see the cracks appear that maybe it's not going to launch in a perfect state. So who knows? Who knows? Now, I don't want to be completely Debbie Downer on all of this, is they did talk, 343 did talk a little bit about the next technical preview, which I think is going to have a lot of fun here. So it's going to have Big Team Battle, which is a personal favorite. We're also going to get a variety of object-based games in that Big Team Battle, and we'll also be able to play around in vehicles. So this sounds a different message, if you will. To me, it sounds like multiplayer, it might actually be in a pretty decent state. You got to remember, this is the second technical playtest, so clearly it's far enough along, at least I should hope it's far enough along, that they are willing to do this in a public fashion. They're not just showing gameplay, they're actually letting us play the game. So it makes you wonder, would Microsoft go back to the idea, or I should say 343/Xbox/Microsoft, go back to the idea of launching multiplayer separate from the campaign? It's an interesting question. You got to remember, this was considered at one point. Phil Spencer confirmed my scoop that it was at least considered at one point, so it's not unheard of that this could potentially resurface. Will they? I think for the optics of the delay, I don't think that they will. But if multiplayer is truly in a very good and polished state and campaign needs a little bit longer, maybe they do. Because remember, they're already sort of pitching and laying up that multiplayer is different than the game because the game is not free. Multiplayer is free to play. The game is like the campaign is part of Game Pass and you can buy it separate, but I think most people likely get it through Game Pass, which is what Microsoft wants. But you got to remember, they were sort of pitched in 2 separate entities. So how is this going to impact Halo's launch? We're not quite sure yet here as I roll through, I believe, what was the original campaign trailer that we initially saw. We don't quite know if this is going to change anything significant for Microsoft. It's too hard to speculate because we're just getting this news. I think the thing we need to genuinely be watching for is, does Microsoft announce any additional sort of tidbits that point out that the game isn't quite complete after so many years of development and hundreds of millions of dollars being tossed into this title, and it's still not coming out in a polished state? I think that would be it'd be a really poor showing for Microsoft, just because Halo, as we all know, is the hero title of the Xbox brand. Yeah, you can make arguments that maybe there's some others like Gears of War. It's Halo for the majority of us. I still remember walking into I was gonna say Best Buy, Blockbuster, to get Halo to rent it because we couldn't get it the day of for whatever reason, and here we are many, many years later, still playing the campaign, still playing the story, still playing the heck out of multiplayer. Some of my best memories are in playing Halo 2 multiplayer, getting the sword and running around. So what is going to be happening with Infinite? They're throwing up some speculation just because of the delay, and it's a little disheartening. I gotta be completely transparent because I think we all want this game to come out and be the quad A blockbuster that the Series X and S need. Which brings up an interesting question: is the Xbox One holding this back in any capacity? Right? Is that a challenge? Xbox One compatibility? We don't quite know yet. Maybe it will come out in a few years when there's somebody who's able to do a tell-all or a deep dive, or they say, look, we could have easily launched this on the next generation, or what we call now current generation consoles, without any issues. And last gen, because of it being originally a launch title, needed to be cross-compatible. That's what really held us up. We don't quite know the answer yet. But I don't want to end this on a negative note. I enjoyed the technical preview. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought the multiplayer was a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to the next technical preview. And I really hope that the more we get out of 343, out of Team Xbox over there, continues to push us towards a happy place. And so while it's very concerning that key elements of the campaign and multiplayer are being delayed until after launch, I'm optimistic, let's just leave it on that hopefully everything else goes smoothly here on out, because as we all know, they can't take the risk of this launching in a poor state. They promised us that after delaying it a year, and so we got to keep a close eye on what is happening with Halo Infinite. And if you want to keep a close eye on what's happening with Halo Infinite, make sure to keep it subscribed here, because the only BS on this channel is me.